My name is Gavin Evans, and this is my review of the story of Ghost of Tsushima, and this will be a spoiler-filled review, so if you haven't played it, go and play it, then come back and watch this review because I will be going in depth. Now, I heard lots of amazing things about this game and its story, and after playing it, I don't agree with some at all. I think this game has an awful story. But let's begin talking about the characters, first with Jin Sakai, who I do like fine enough as a character, just the way that he's torn between the way he was raised and how to fight with honor, but then also the current circumstances have him torn between what he should do and what he has to do, and how that does create a separation between him and his uncle later on in the game. I think all of that stuff was legitimately really compelling. And the way that he becomes a legend throughout the game, it's just one of those games where you keep rescuing people and then soon people are just like, oh my goodness, you're the greatest. But just due to the culture that's on display, he becomes more of a legend, and I do like that approach. So the main character, I do really like in this game. Then you've got Lord Shimura, who is the uncle, and I do like the relationship he has with Jin Sakai. I do think there's some legitimately good stuff there, but when he needs to be rescued, you forget about this character entirely until the cutscenes near the end of Act 1, and then you get reunited, and Lord Shimura is just like, I'm so proud of you, Jin. I love the fact that you wouldn't kill someone behind their back. Oh, he's in for a surprise later on. But the relationship between the two of them, you do buy. But then Jin Sakai just does his own thing, and you don't really see the two of them together until later on. And it's just like, there is a legitimately good relationship here, but it gets lost in just how bloated this game is. So then at the end of Act 2, Jin Sakai's worldview and Lord Shimura's worldview comes clashing with each other, and they end up becoming enemies. And I think that was a great turn for them to take these characters. But I just feel like they did nothing with that turn until the very end. Lord Jin Sakai escapes the Shogun, and then he goes back to be like, yo, we're gonna attack the Khan, wanna come with us? And then they do, and then, that's it. You had a great ending of Act 2 where you really do feel the stakes and what's going on between the characters, and it just feels thrown away until the very end of the game. And I do love the last 10 minutes where you're forced to fight Lord Shimura, and how even after you beat him, Jin Sakai isn't just like, you disgusting old pig. He's just like, I'll make sure they remember you. For the wise man you were, for the kind man you were, and all that stuff. And he kills his, and then right before he kills his uncle's like, look for me in the next life. And I thought that was a really strong way to end the game. But once again, all of the great storytelling that's going on between these two characters just gets lost in how big and expansive this game really is. So as much as I enjoyed those elements, they're too few and far between the rest of the game. Then you've got this one character named Luna, who I never really cared about. She's fine enough, but she didn't really have anything overly memorable about her. And then I think it was her brother who was named Taka, and Taka just had their character to me. I didn't really care for him. There's one moment where Jin Sakai gets captured, and then they kill Takai, and then they just leave. And it just feels like that scene exists only to kill him, because it doesn't make sense with the rest of the villain's character and all that. So even though him dying could have been an impactful scene, the handling of everything else surrounding it just really does downplay the impact. Then you've got Genji, who I talked about in my other review. He's just an annoying side character. He doesn't really do all too much. And then you've got this one character named Wizzle. And this character is meant to be Jin Sakai's best friend. But I never got that impression. It felt like Jin Sakai just talked to him like he did with everyone else. And I just don't think Wizzle on his own was a well set up character. So when he does eventually betray Jin Sakai, I just didn't feel it. I just felt like that tone held zero weight. So then he joins the Khan, or as William Shatner would say, the Khan. Okay, that was a bad joke. And you don't get enough of that, and then you encounter Wizzle with the Khan, and then he's just like, no, they left. Really? Hey, let's join forces. We can take down the Khan together. And then Jen Sakai's like, no, you already betrayed me, and then they fight. It just feels like they didn't know what to do with this character, and when Wizzle dies, I felt nothing. And then the main villain, I know he has a different name as well, but I'm just going to call him the main Khan. I didn't really like the villain. I just, he's this big threat, but you don't really feel like he's the big guy behind everything. You almost never see him, you never feel his presence. He just holds zero weight to this game. If you saw him kill someone that you really loved early on and he rubbed it in his face and it was like a revenge tale, that would have been a better way to go about him, because just for everything they were going for with him, I just think he really ended up doing nothing that makes him memorable. And I think this story is also really bad on a structural level. Like, I do love the opening of this game when you're on the beach and you're getting invaded and you're watching people get killed left, right, and center. That's a great hook to draw you in. And then you face the Khan who just kidnapped your uncle and you get beaten. And the main character should just want revenge and he should feel humiliated. But it just feels kind of forgotten about that he did defeat you, that he only survived because of water. So then the entire first act of this game is just him getting people to join him on his quest, to join his army. And that's it. For the entire first act of the game, that's all you're doing. It's not really the most exciting story-wise or character-wise. So then you do attack the castle, and that's when you get betrayed by Wizzle, which once again holds 0-8, and then you rescue your uncle, and that's just it. And then the uncle's just like, he left. And then it says Act 2, and I'm like, wait, what? Like, I just spent a month on this game, and it's only going to be Act 2 now? What the hell, as Avril Lavigne would say. So then you reunite with your uncle, but then you just do all this other stuff, and you start planning for this other attack. And like, that's really all that Act 2 has to it. There's almost no real story or character work going on. You could argue that Jen Sakai is becoming a legend in that way. And no, you can do that while having it contained in the story. So I don't buy into that. So then you do eventually invade this other castle, and it's a great sequence, it is. And then you've got to sneak in and poison the milk against Lord Shimura's orders. And then you get to face Wizzle, and Wizzle's just like, oh yeah, he wore the nose. And I'm just like, oh my god, of course he did. There's going to be an Act 3, isn't there? And yeah, sure enough, there is. So then you have all that stuff go down between Jen Sakai and his uncle that I already talked about. And then he escapes the Shogun, and somehow the Khan takes the poison that he put in the milk and poisons. And like, the Khan start using his own poison against him, but I don't understand how that works. Like, he put it in the milk, and they drink the milk, and then they had that area. So how did they know? How did they get that? It just doesn't make any bit of sense. But the poison arrows and all that stuff, I really hated. Like, I get that you have to make the game more difficult, like I already said last week, but there's a point where you just stop having fun. And that was a case with the poison arrows. It just pissed me off more than anything else. But then the entire last act, you're just getting ready for another big attack. And then you do the attack. But first you tell your uncle, yo, come fight the Khan with us. And then the big attack happens, and you defeat the villain. And then you got the ending stuff with Lord Shimura and Jin Sakai. That's the story. It took me 2 months to play through that story. 2 months. For just that. A story where almost nothing really happens. The first act. Come join my army. They join the army. Ends on invasion of a castle. Second act. We're going to invade this other castle. Come, help us out. They go help them out. Third act, why don't you go attack the Khans here? Come join us. And then they go do that. Because of that, The story to this game just feels so repetitive. It never evolves past what you initially thought it would be. And it's just the most clunky, lacking kind of storytelling there is. There's maybe like 5 hours worth of good story here, but it's just so stretched out that it gets lost in just how bloated this game is. So even though there are good aspects, like I said, I like the opening scene on the beach. It's a good hook. I like the stuff with Lord Shimura and Jin Sakai and how the worldviews end up clashing with each other. That stuff is good. But just about everything else fell completely flat for me. So that's why I didn't like the story at all. But what did you think about the story for Ghost of Tsushima? Let me know in the comments down below. Make sure you like, make sure you comment, make sure you subscribe. Stay tuned for some more videos soon, and Gavin out.